Coming up on Global Business, major domestic tourist attractions across the country have recorded surging numbers of visitors during the extended Mid-Autumn Festival and National Day holiday. We continue our series of reports on a decade of the Belt and Road Initiative visiting Tanzania and Mexico. And we take a look at South Korea's burgeoning skateboarding scene and discover its potential for growth. Hello and welcome to Global Business here on CGTN. I'm Guanxing in Beijing. China travel and tourism figures have continued to increase during the extended Mid-Autumn Festival and National Day holiday. On Tuesday, railway, highway, water, and air transport services across the country are expected to carry over 53 million passengers. Among them, the railway passenger numbers have remained especially high, with over 16 million daily passengers for 4 consecutive days. China's Ministry of Culture and Tourism reports domestic trips rose by nearly 76% to $395 million between September 29th to October the 1st. Domestic tourism spending over the same period also rose by more than 125% to 342 billion yuan, close to $47 billion. And since the holiday period began, box office ticket sales have exceeded 2 billion yuan. The 8-day holiday is providing a marvelous opportunity for travel-hungry citizens to embark on a journey. And major domestic tourist attractions across the country have recorded surging numbers of visitors. Take a look.
Arshan National Forest Park in China's Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region is a popular destination for visitors from across the country keen to enjoy its unique autumn scenery. In the first 4 days of the holiday, the park received more than 90,000 tourists, an increase of nearly 60% from last year.
I drove here from Beijing with my family. We had a very pleasant holiday.
In Fenghuang Ancient City, which is located in the southwest of Hunan Province, boat trips are popular with tourists, allowing them to relax and take in the night scenes.
About 5,000 to 6,000 people come here to take cruise every day.
The night view is amazing. I'll come back here again.
With the surging travel demand comes a booming tourism sector. The China Tourism Academy stated that the number of domestic tourist trips increased by 76% year-on-year in the first 3 days of the National Day holiday. Li Xiaoyao, Zhao Xuetong, CGTN.
As for outbound travel, Malaysia is a top choice for Chinese travelers during this National Day holiday. And Orion Melzler in Kuala Lumpur has more.
I'm here in Chinatown in Kuala Lumpur right now, and we are seeing an uptick in Chinese tourists, that's for sure, but not really what the tourism industry had been hoping for and expecting. They tell me that there was this last-minute surge in inquiries coming from the mainland, but they had the issue of having to get visas in time to come here. And they are seeing a month-to-month uptick in the number of tourist arrivals, not just from China, but overall tourist numbers are down, not just for China. The estimate is that around 16 million people will visit Malaysia this year, but that compares to 26 million in 2019, just before the pandemic. Now, there are a number of possible reasons for this. Airfares are still often inflated. A number of airlines, including Malaysia's AirAsia, have only gradually been getting their air fleets back into the air, and as well as competition from other countries, not least countries that have more recently opened their doors to visitors from China, as well as neighbors such as Thailand, who just recently instituted visa waivers for visitors from China. And as a result, Malaysia is now considering that as well. The tourism minister said last week he will go to cabinet and request that the government does grant either visa on arrival or visa waivers for important markets such as China and no doubt India as well. And if that does happen, and they've done it in the past as a short-term measure, I believe that it will very much boost the numbers, because it will, more than anything, it's not so much about cost, it's about increased convenience, about being able to travel at the last minute, not go through all the paperwork, just decide on a whim to come to Malaysia. And certainly that's something Malaysia will be welcoming, and they'll be hoping that by the time the Spring Festival, Lunar New Year comes around, that the number of tourist arrivals from China and elsewhere will at least match what it was before the pandemic, if not exceed those levels. And certainly those that have come are going to feel very welcome here in Malaysia.
Nepal has been accelerating infrastructure construction and training of hospitality sector workers in expectation of a major influx of Chinese tourists. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the number of Chinese visitors plummeted from almost 170,000 in 2019 to less than 4,000 last year. But now, Chinese tourists are returning. Kan Chajiha reports.
你好，小午好，我叫 Sunita Nepal.
Sunita Nepal, a tourist police official based in the capital Kathmandu, is enhancing her skill set as part of her job responsibilities. She has recently enrolled in Mandarin language classes to improve her ability to communicate with Chinese tourists and assist them with their issues.
The number of Chinese tourists visiting has gone up. We used to have trouble dealing with their problems. We had to bring in interpreters from outside the department when issues came up. But now, as we are learning Chinese, we can solve their problems easily. Knowing the language makes a big difference.
This initiative is just one of several efforts by the Nepali government to improve services for Chinese tourists visiting Nepal. The government has been focusing on strengthening its hospitality sector to offer better services to Chinese visitors.
Now we have 250 trained guides in Nepal who are very fluent in Chinese language, and they are not only in Chinese language but they understand the culture of China. So now they are well trained. They can explain about the different monuments of Nepal or lifestyle of Nepal, people, culture.
In March this year, Beijing allowed its citizens to visit Nepal as tourists after a 3-year halt due to the COVID-19 pandemic. China has been the second largest source of tourists for Nepal after India. The tourism industry in Nepal, especially businesses that rely on Chinese visitors, suffered a double blow over the past 3 years. But now, as more Chinese travelers return after the pandemic, business owners like Sriram Podel feel optimistic. He runs a shop in Kathmandu's tourist hotspot, Thamel, catering mainly to Chinese tourists who buy locally made products.
Since June-July, we have seen a significant increase in the number of Chinese tourists, and the borders have reopened. The Prime Minister's visit has also sent a positive message. Things are looking up, and we are feeling hopeful.
In recent years, Nepal has made substantial progress in its tourist infrastructure, including the construction of 2 international airports and the development of numerous standard hotels.
In Nepal, for every 6 tourists, 1 job is created. Nepal's tourism sector provides jobs to around 20% of the working age population. Chinese tourists contribute significantly to local economy when they visit places like Little China in Thamel. This place is brimming with shops and restaurants tailored to Chinese visitors.
Experts highlight China's growing outbound tourism, with Nepal becoming a popular choice. In response, Nepal is welcoming Chinese tourists with measures like visa on arrival, waived fees, improved flight connectivity, and special packages. Kanchan Jha, CGTN, Kathmandu, Nepal.
And now we're heading for a short break. Still to come on the program. We continue our series of reports on the decade of the Belt and Road Initiative, visiting Tanzania and Mexico.
What are you still standing here for? Come join us.
Take a flight, catch a train, hop on a bus. We are traveling to places of different cultures and languages.
Mes médiums reportages au Mati, Kazakhstan, à Dubaï, aux Émirats Arabes Unis, desde las calles de Rio de Janeiro, للمشاريع في Dhaka, Bangladesh.
And what are we looking for?
Infrastructure along the Belt and Road countries. Stories of how they promote growth and improve lives.
Only on our special series of the New Silk Road.
2023 marks the 10th year of the Belt and Road Initiative, a global sea-based cooperation platform. The 21st Century Maritime Silk Road is part of the BRI. The Maritime Silk Road initially was aimed at boosting China-ASEAN ties. Since then, it has realized a vision of interconnected, complementary markets, traversing over 20 countries throughout Asia, North Africa, and Europe. The main route stretched from the southern Chinese port city of Quanzhou across the South China Sea to Jakarta, over the Indian Ocean to Nairobi, and through the Mediterranean into Athens and to Venice. The Maritime Silk Road highlights ocean-based prosperity and collaborative governance among the participating economies. Over the past decade, 152 countries and 32 international organizations have signed up to the Belt and Road Initiative. And CGTN's reporters have traveled to 22 Belt and Road nations across Asia, Africa, Europe, and Latin America to uncover stories of collaboration, transformation, and people-to-people exchanges under the framework. In today's episode, our reporter Wang Tianyu tells us how Chinese experts have helped fishermen in Tanzania to boost their infrastructure.
Squeezing in a crowded wooden boat, catching fish with a humble net, and selling their lucks immediately off-boat. This is how fishers in Zanzibar have made their living for centuries. Anchored 35 kilometers off Tanzania's mainland, Zanzibar enjoys absolute advantages in aquatic resources. Unfortunately, the old fishing methods never brought fishermen here enough income. Therefore, the local government decided to make some changes. The first move was to learn from others.
Back in 2017-2018, the government of Zanzibar sent a delegation of the experts from the ministry, the then Ministry of Agriculture, Natural Resources, Livestock and Fisheries, to China to learn more of the potential areas of cooperation, areas of investments.
That visit opened the door to cooperation. Not long after, China sent their people to the islands to provide training sessions in fishery tactics. 6 years on, fisheries in the semi-autonomous province share of GDP has gone from 4.5% to 6.5%.
But now we see a new trend in terms of the mechanized cooperation. So now we have Chinese companies that are coming to Zanzibar to support the mechanization of our fisheries value chain by building fiber boats.
That company is owned by Chinese entrepreneur Yang Hao. 5 years ago, guided by sharp business acumen, Yang successfully built himself a shipyard.
So is that hard for you as a Chinese here to do business like fishery business?
No, actually we have a great advantage. Is that we have more access to the raw material and the technology.
From China?
Yeah, from China. Of course, we can get a cheaper price than the local businessmen. And also, the technology of China is always going very fast. The local manufacturer, they don't know the new technology, and we know that.
The Zanzibar government orders fiberglass boats from Yang and then sells them to the fishers with zero-interest loans. This is part of their efforts to boost the island's fishing sector. Identifying this opportunity in the first place was what helped Yang overcome his struggles in 2016.
For almost a half year, I don't have any income. And after I bought one bag of noodles and one tray of eggs, I just have 60,000 shillings.
60,000 shillings was worth less than $30 at the time. That forced him to stay home alone for 25 days, with noodles as the only source of food.
Have you ever considered to go back to China?
No. All my family and my friends and my classmates, when they know my situation, everyone talk to me, want me to go back to China. I say no, my future is here. I have a feeling actually.
What feeling?
That I will be very successful one day.
You are.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Wang Tianyu, CGTN, Zanzibar, Tanzania.
Another team of reporters has traveled to Brazil, Argentina, and Mexico. In this episode, our reporter Zheng Yibing visits Mexico, where a Chinese company is helping to build Tren Maya, a mega rail project.
The Tren Maya is the railway project that will connect 5 states in Mexico's southeast, covering a distance of approximately 1,500 kilometers in a rough loop from beaches to Mayan ruins. The ambitious project seeks to serve passengers and cargo and bring economic opportunities to remote areas. Despite challenges and controversies, it is taking shape with participation of global builders and providers.
This is a construction site of the section of the 1,500-kilometer-long Tren Maya in Mexico. During these past 3 years, engineers and workers from Chinese company have been working here in the field with the Mexican partners for this great project.
We began construction in May 2020 and plan to complete the framework by the end of the year. We are working in a consortium. The section Tren Maya is the only one using the mechanical way to lay tracks with good speed and safety, and this receives high attention.
The consortium met difficulties such as worker shortage at the beginning, especially during the pandemic, but these were overcome through the Joint Management Department.
We learned so much from our Chinese co-workers, the project, the company, the co-workers. All is a good environment, and we are constantly learning a lot about all that.
There has been an environmental controversy over building the Tren Maya railway through the jungle area. However, the local builders say they've been making efforts to balance economic progress and environmental protection.
This is the plant nursery for our Mayan railway project. All rare plants found along the line have been rescued and are sent here for protection. We prioritize this job and do this in line with the official rules on protected species.
The builders say, following the project plan, they hope the completion of the railway will contribute to the social and economic development of Mexico's southeast and the rest of the country. Zheng Yibing, CGTN in Mexico.
Tanzania is one of the 23 countries participating in the 21st Century Maritime Silk Road, which is a key component of the Belt and Road Initiative. And as a natural extension of the Sea Route, 9 Latin American countries have joined the initiative. And China has been Mexico's second largest trading partner, also the largest outside the region. And for more discussion on both countries, let's bring in Liu Baochen, Dean of the Center for International Business Ethics at UIB. Thank you for joining us, Professor Liu. So how would you assess the Maritime Silk Road in terms of facilitating trade and investment in the past 10 years?
Well, under the global environment over the past 10 years, we can see that the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative has really gained high level of popularity because of the protectionism going on and also the regional politics that is there to disturb the free trade. And then the surge of the Belt and Road Initiative is there to bring connectivity and also to have all participating nations to really to have a shared future for the mankind. And this is already ideologically and more importantly practically has produced a substantial fruition. So therefore we can see that more countries are getting more enthused in trade and investment and also in the people-to-people exchange and dialogue and sports and cultural exchanges, etc. So I think this is really a breakthrough against the type of international order that was sanctioned by the Western countries, and South-South cooperation has, as a result, consolidated to quite a great deal with more of the financial structure set up, and also more realistically more of the connectivity in the infrastructure developments.
Let's talk a bit more about Mexico. As one of the most populous countries in Latin America, Mexico offers a huge consumer market. How can China further tap into a rising consumer demand in the country, and how can China and Mexico further enhance their trade and investment relationship?
We have noticed that the trade has really enjoyed double-digit growth in recent years between China and Mexico, and also the Chinese investment in Mexico has increased substantially by 48%. And so this is really there to take advantage of the Belt and Road Initiative, which is really the extension of the Chinese maritime Silk Road expansion. And also this is really there also to take advantage of the integration of the United States, Canada, and Mexico for the free trade agreement. And when the United States is really promoting a reshoring, and China is there to free ride actually on this one. And so therefore it is working really for the benefit of the local people and also for the Chinese people to have a turnaround. I think the more subtly is that the more of the global companies are really there to welcome more of the Chinese companies to build the ecosystem with the Mexico. And China, of course, is no exception to grasp this opportunity. So we can see that although Mexico has not really signed up on the MOU of BRI, and as a matter of fact, has been implementing the notion of the BRI on the reality ground. And also we can see that more of the Mexican business people appear in China and more Mexican students are appearing on the Chinese continent. And that really paved the way to develop a new potential for better collaboration between these two countries.
Mm-hmm. And let's look beyond Mexico to the entire continent. What's the outlook for broader BRI cooperation in Latin America as a whole?
Well, in Latin America, there are out of the 24 countries that have formal diplomatic ties with China, 19 countries have already signed the commitment with the Chinese BRI initiative, and the extension of the Chinese maritime Silk Road has really benefited a great deal. As an anecdotal, when I was really flying over a number of countries in the Caribbean area in Latin America, I could see some of the countries, some of the cities have very bright light, and then I asked my some of the colleagues, and they said, well, this is China who's there to develop the railroads and hydropowers to support the electricity, support the connectivity, and that's why they really enjoy the benefits. So in terms of job employment, in terms of the tax revenue, and also in their extension to the global marketplace, China has really contributed a great deal. And so actually the story of the fishermen in Tanzania is really a best illustration. China is not only there to give the fish, but also give them the fishing equipment, provide the fishing skills, and in the end, China also provide the fishing market. So this is really a figurative analogy for the larger spectrum of the Belt and Road Initiative and its mission. So therefore, the world has really seen, in fact, which is really speaking far louder than words, that China is really doing the right thing, and China is really collaborating more with those developing countries to realize their own better life, and also to achieve really a shared future for the community.
Indeed, actions speak louder than words. Thank you very much for your analysis. And that was Liu Baochen, Dean of the Center for International Business Ethics at UIBE. Moving on to some world headlines at this hour. The U.S. Federal Reserve says monetary policy would need to stay restrictive for some time to bring inflation back down to its 2% target. But policymakers' unity around that phrase masks an ongoing debate over another possible rate hike this year. An ongoing strike carried out by tens of thousands of auto workers has cost the U.S. economy nearly $4 billion in economic losses over its first 2 weeks, denying workers their wages and cutting output at car companies, according to a study from Michigan-based research firm. And the British Retail Consortium says annual shop price inflation cooled to 6.2% last month from 6.9% in August, its lowest number since September 2022. Well, skateboarding is gaining popularity worldwide after being introduced as an official Olympic sport. And our correspondent Su Mingyu talked to an industry insider to explore South Korea's skateboarding scene and discusses the potential for growth.
Skateboarding has evolved from a niche activity associated with lifestyle and counterculture to a mainstream sport with widespread recognition. It's a phenomenon experts attribute to the COVID-19 pandemic and the introduction of skateboarding in the Tokyo Olympics 2020 as the primary catalysts.
Well, skateboarding has been designated as an official Olympic sport and has seen a surge in popularity, especially in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Here in South Korea, the domestic skate scene has seen a level of growth with an increase in collaboration between fashion brands and skateboard stores springing up nationwide.
Skateboarders' videos on social media platforms attract attention from those within the skateboarding community, leading to potential sponsorships from renowned brands like Nike or Vans. The allure of skateboarding is said to be a coveted aspect within the fashion genre.
The sense of freedom and self-expression that skateboarding offers is often perceived as cool, making it highly appealing to the fashion and apparel community.
Cho Gang-hoon, who has been a skateboarder for 25 years and runs South Korea's only skateboarding web magazine, acknowledges the numerous industrial opportunities. However, the domestic skateboarding scene has encountered a set of obstacles, with the sport often viewed as a fleeting trend rather than a lifestyle choice due to high barriers to entry.
In industries such as equipment sales, continuous profit generation can be challenging, especially when customers make a single purchase and refrain from future buying.
The skateboarding scenes in California or Barcelona or in neighboring countries like Japan and China are more vibrant compared to those in South Korea, mainly due to their better infrastructure. The scarcity of skateboarding facilities is what mainly hinders the potential for growth.
Currently, there are large parks in Taxian and Nanjing in Seoul which retain structures reminiscent of the 90s. However, these parks may not align with modern trends, creating a gap.
Industry insiders assert that increased government support by looking at the potential could serve as a catalyst for expanding the market and solidifying the culture.
It's crucial to broaden our base, as inclusive sports are now the foundation. This approach ensures we cultivate exceptional athletes.
Building skateboarding infrastructure could serve as a platform that not only attracts enthusiasts, but also stimulates the leisure and tourism industry.
Enthusiasts of skateboarding and street fashion often congregate and practice in these spaces, while others visit for sightseeing and photography.
This creates a vibrant community that can be leveraged for more business opportunities, from retail and merchandising to events and tourism. For these seeds of interest to flourish, though, observers say that it will be essential to cultivate a conducive environment. Yoo Soo-min, CGTN, Seoul.
And that will do it for this edition of Global Business on CGTN. Thank you for being with us. The Hub with Wang Guan is coming up next. Stay tuned.